so tonight we're going to be really efficient. We're going to cook tonight's meal, which is going to be a hamburger, and we're going to make bolognese for tomorrow. So we're going to use the same pan, the same hamburger, and we're going to make tonight's dinner and tomorrow get prepped, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. We're going to start with this nice ground hamburger. Now, don't get in the little pads, get it loose ground like this. We're going to take about 6 ounces, which is about a third of the meat, and the rest of the meat we're going to make bolognese sauce with. So that's just a nice big round piece. We're going to just simply flatten the burger with our hands like that. Again, use a nice little cutting board here, and we're good to go. All we need to do is put a nice generous amount of flake salt. Again, no iodized salt. We're going to use a nice flaked kosher salt. And boom, let's go cook it up. We're going to take a little bit of butter, put it in the pan. We don't want it so hot that it burns. We just want to brown it. We're going to take our bun. We're going to absorb that butter. Get all that butter absorbed into our bread. And we're going to toast the bun for about 2 minutes. Now this is going to make such a big difference in how delicious your hamburgers. You go in any burger joint, they really take care to make sure you have a nice, fresh, toasted bun. So we're just going to let that sit for a moment. Lower, let's see how that is. Oh my God, that's just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And you also want to make sure that your bun is nice and warm throughout. So you don't want to have it too hot. So there, that is going to be the perfect bun. We're going to put that on the side. We're going to put a little olive oil. Excuse me, I used avocado oil. And we're going to take that beautiful burger and we're just going to put that. Make sure your pan is nice and hot to start with. Again, we're about 7, so medium high. And we're going to let it sit right there without moving it so it gets nice and caramely and brown on that side. So it's been about 3 minutes. We're going to flip it over. Boom. And cook it about another 3 minutes. Now, if you like cheese on your burger, this is the time to add it. So we're just going to put a piece of cheese on top while it's still nice and hot, and that's going to melt on there and be super yum. So now you can see that the juices are kind of coming out of the side. That's a nice medium. There we go. Boom. I'm going to put that right on our bun. We've got our beautiful hamburger, a nice toasty bun. I'm just going to take a couple pieces of lettuce. You could take any kind of greens you have in the refrigerator. And if you like that, put a little on. Actually, I'm going to take that nice big avocado piece and I'm just going to scoop it out. We had it from yesterday. Actually, I'm going to make 1 or 2 slices on there so it's a little easier to eat. Our avocado, I'll put a little tomato on it. Now, if you like ketchup, if you like mustard, mayo, whatever you like, I like ketchup, so I'll put a lot of ketchup on there, and then boom. Now, you might want to serve this with some broccoli or some other veggie, but doesn't that look delicious? Oh my God, I'm gonna take a bite anyway. Oh, oh my God. Now that is a great hamburger. I'm gonna sit down and eat this, and then we're gonna come back and finish that bolognese sauce. All right, so now we're gonna make bolognese with the rest of our hamburger meat. This is 12 ounces. You get 12 ounces to a pound. Some pasta sauce. Rouse is absolutely the best. Some olive oil, some onions. I'm actually going to use the last of my caramelized onions. That's going to save us a little bit of time, or you could cut up a fresh onion. We also can add a little bit of garlic. I'm going to use a little bit of thyme, and I have a little bit of oregano dried. Just going to put a touch in there. If you want, I just have some roasted red peppers here. If you don't have fresh peppers, these are always good to have in your pantry. And we're going to chop that up. We're going to get on the stove and saute this up and make our pasta sauce for tomorrow. So I just chopped up a little bit of garlic, about 2 heads. Don't want a ton. It's still a little bit bulky. You don't have to be perfect. I took 1 pepper, sliced it up. I kept it on my board here, so it's going to be easy to transport over there. And you know what? I think it's time to go from cooking beer. It's about time to go to cooking wine. The nice thing about cooking wine is please get something you want to drink, because if we're going to use cooking wine, because bolognese loves a little red wine to deglaze. So we're going to use this for cooking, but we got to taste the cooking wine and we got to work. 1 glass of cooking wine makes cooking a lot tastier. So let's get on the stove. We want to get that pan nice and hot first. In this case, I'm going to use olive oil. I don't want to burn it too hot. I love to put my fresh thyme in at the very beginning because you hear that? Oh, it'll infuse the flavor. Then a little bit of oregano here. It'll actually infuse the flavors into the oil. And then we're going to put our garlic in first because I really want that to be, I want it to toast a little bit in the oil. So we're actually flavoring this oil up to be super yummy. I don't want to be too hot, but I want to infuse those flavors into the oil. And they call it toasting. You toast your garlic. Yeah, we could cut the pieces a little bit smaller, but you know, I kind of like a little hit of garlic here and there. All right, we can see it just starting to brown up a little bit. And now we're going to add that beautiful meat. Try to just... And I'd already cooked these onions. Going to add those in too. And we're just going to start cooking this down. And the juice in the meat is going to start coming off. So there's actually a lot of liquid. We're going to see a lot of steam come off in the beginning. We're going to want to cook all that steam off because when there's liquid in there, it's going to boil. And you can see the liquid starting to come out and it's boiling. I'm actually going to turn up the heat. I just want to boil off that water and let it just sit there until we cannot caramelize the meat with moisture in the meat. So we have to let that cook off. And you're going to hear the sound change as the amount of moisture evaporates and there's more oil. It'll start to snap, crackle, and pop, and you'll hear the difference. But it's going to take about 3 minutes, I think. You can hear the sound start to change. Now you just see there's no moisture left. It's all just a little oil in the bottom. Now it's going to start browning. We're going to want to brown it and deglaze it with our cooking wine. And we're just going to be a little bit patient. We really want it to caramelize. We want a lot of brown meat. It's the key to getting that deep, rich flavor in your Bolognese. So I want you to cook with your ears for a minute. See, you can hear it. You can hear it frying. That meat is caramelizing. I don't want to move it too often because if you move it too often, it won't have a chance to just sit there and kind of get caramely and dark. But I'm going to stir it every little bit because now I can feel it sticking to the pan. And you don't want it to burn to the pan. We just want it to... See, we can start seeing those beautiful brown caramelized meat. You can see we're building up this fondant, they call it, which is basically the shit that sticks to the pan. We don't want big chunks, but you can see it's sort of a glaze in the pan. And we're going to take our cooking wine and we're going to put that in there. Boom! Now that's going to, basically you're going to move that around and you're going to clean the pan with that liquid. It's going to take all the burnt, kind of the brown part off of the pan so you can see the bottom of the pan again. And we're going to let that cook off. We have nice brown meat. Now this is already pre-cooked, so we're going to add that late. If it was raw, I would have added it much earlier. All right, I can feel, oh, yep, it's nice, still nice and smooth on the bottom. There's no moisture, you can see. That's just oil. So the oil now allows us to caramelize that up. One last time, we can see again, we're getting the fondant on the pan. And we're going to take our nice, delicious wine, just another touch. And basically, I'm going to clean the pan, and then I'm going to let that alcohol, I'm going to let all that cook off. I just want the essential flavors of the wine. I do not want the alcohol in there. And I want this to be pretty dry. I want the bottom of the pan to be pretty clean at this point. All right, Rouse, this is like the best. We're just going to hit it. the back of a knife and it'll break the seal. All right, so now it's nice and dry, beautiful caramel meat. Let's look at that up close so you get a good picture of that. That is tasty meat. Now we're going to add about a pound, so a couple cups. So there we go. That is a beautiful ragu. You do want it to cook slowly for a little bit. If you're using canned tomatoes and you're cooking your sauce down, you have to cook it for hours to get all the acids off. But if you're buying one that's already prepared, you can cook it for about 5 minutes. Let it simmer out. It'll open that tomatoes back up and the flavor straight out of the can. If you're making pasta and you're taking the pasta sauce straight out of the can, it's not going to taste nearly as yummy as this. So again, we made our hamburger first, and then we took the rest of the hamburger and we made our ragu, and now we're just going to chill this and we're going to eat it for tomorrow night's dinner. So last night we made our Bolognese sauce. Oh my gosh, this is so yummy. Just meat sauce, basically, tomato sauce and meat. Yum. And then I just went through the refrigerator and found all the leftovers. We had some roasted zucchini, some kale that we had some cooked beans, had some chopped onions, and then I had a fresh bag of spinach. So, all right, we're gonna eat a lot of pasta, and some meat, but we wanna get our vegetables. So first we're gonna cook these vegetables in the pan, and then we're gonna, while we're cooking the vegetables, we're gonna cook the pasta. It's gonna take about 8 minutes to cook the pasta. We're gonna heat these up, get them out of the pan, get them ready for dinner, and then when the pasta's done, we're gonna put the meat sauce on it, stir it up, and we're gonna be good to go. But do not forget the cooking wine, which makes the meal taste even better. So let's get in and start with the veggies. So before I start cooking the veggies, woo, that's boiling hot, I'm going to get our pasta started so everything is ready at the same time. So a nice big, this is a lot of water, so I'm going to put 2 scoops of salt in there. You want it to taste like the sea, like ocean water. The reason you want salt in your water is because the pasta needs that to taste good. It will not taste so yummy. I have a nice pappardelle here. I have about a ½ pound I'm going to put in there. Whoops. That's about a ½ pound. So I'm just going to give that a stir so it can go. You want to have lots of water. If you don't have enough water, what you're going to do is get very gummy pasta, because there's not enough room for. What happens is the pasta starts cooking and it will let starches out into the water, and you want that to dissipate. So we're going to let that cook. I read the instructions on the bag. It said 8 minutes. More than enough time to make our pasta. See how hot that is? See how the water just doesn't even boil, it just sort of moves around? That pan is way too hot to cook in. So I've let that pan cool down a little bit. First thing that goes in, our yummy, yummy olive oil. And I want to be about 7. So always start with the onion. So I want that to start toasting a little bit before I start in. This is Italian, so we're going to add just 1 clove of garlic. I want to make sure that gets toasted first, as I mentioned before. Again, be careful not to make it so hot. You do not want to burn your oil. You want to have a good amount of oil. The oil and the onions will start mixing, and that flavor of the garlic and the onions will basically dissipate into the oil and give you a very nice flavor. I notice these are really long. These are, I want to make these similar size, so I'm just going to chop these down real quick. All right, oh, beautiful, beautiful, nice caramelized onions. My green beans. And then I have these, which are already cooked, so essentially we're just warming them up again. So you can see the pan is starting to have a little fondant on it. We're going to add some spinach at the end. Spinach only takes about 1 minute, but it needs a little steam. So I'm going to pour that in, and I'm just going to pour about 1/4 cup of the broth. And now look at that. One, I'm cleaning the bottom of the pan, so all that nice flavor's coming off. And then that steam is really lovely to cook that spinach. We're just going to kind of fold it in. See, we got plenty of moisture in the bottom. And our goal is to cook that moisture off. So you want to be careful not to get too much moisture, because that really sucks. You'll overcook your vegetables. May have just put a touch too much. I don't like to have to boil them too much. So I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit, cook that off, and as soon as the juices are cooked off, we are going to be ready with our veggies. And I'm just going to give our pasta a quick stir here. I can see it's starting to break up a little bit. We need about 8 minutes. You can see that kind of murky color. That's the starches coming out of the pasta. And as we cook, remember we put salt in there, so the salt is then basically through osmosis moving its way into the pasta. So the pasta will taste nice and delicious. Pull the veggies to the side so they don't overcook. I'm going to let the juices just kind of run out here and evaporate, because we don't want too much juice in our veggies. If you have a lot of juice in your veggies, all that water is basically washing all the flavor off of the veggie, and we lose the yummy flavor and the oil and all that deliciousness. So I'm just going to let that cook just a minute more. Yeah, all right. We've cooked that juice down. Now I'm just going to make sure that the concentrated flavor gets everywhere. Right at the end here, I'm going to give you a little extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to do a pinch of salt. I'm going to use my best salt here, my flour salt, yum, give it a nice good deliciousness. So that our veggies are ready to go. Let's put those in a pan. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to wash this very same pan. So I'm going to heat up my Bolognese from yesterday. If this is too thick from last night, you can just take and add a little bit of chicken broth to it if needed, or beef broth. But essentially we're just going to get this hot. So we're going to have hot sauce, meet hot Bolognese sauce, meet our nice hot pasta, and then we're going to cook them together for just a minute. Now some people will plate the pasta and put the meat sauce on top and then stir it in. I like to actually cook it in the juice. And we're going to use a little bit of the leftover juice because there's starches in here, which will add some salt because it's salt water, and it'll add a little bit of starch to our pasta sauce. So now this is hot. This has been 8 minutes, and our pasta is cooked, nice al dente. You do not want to overcook it. Now I said I was going to add some of that juice. I have a little bit here. I'm going to add the pasta sauce, which is a really nice addition. It'll give it a little more moisture, because what I want is I actually want the final cooking of the pasta to be in the sauce, with the sauce. So the sauce actually cooks into the pasta, and that is one little trick. And what a little bit of a mess this is, but it's going to be all worth it in the end. All right, we're ready to portion that up. So I'm just going to go right into the plate. Oh, that's beautiful. A spoon to get a little extra sauce on the side there. Here's a beautifully plated pasta. We're going to take the Parmesan. You could take, I love pecorino, which is goat cheese, instead of cow cheese, but you can use any hard cheese, and you're just going to grate it over. You don't move the grater, you move the cheese. And it's nice to take a little cloth or something, wrap the cheese so you can get a nice hold on it. I like lots of it. So let's go, boom. Nice. And here we have our vegetables. I have lots, so we can have lots of leftovers for tomorrow. So you want to maybe serve that on the side. And of course, some of our cooking wine. So hopefully you enjoy that. Bon appetit, or I should say, bontà in Italian. Enjoy.